today we are going to learn the second chapter of history, that is the rise of Gandhi and the freedom movements in India. So before going to learn the second chapter, that is the rise of Gandhi and the freedom movements in India, we must know the chapter, what is the main theme of this chapter. The main theme of this chapter is to impart the main concept of the various national movements formed in India or held in India under the leadership of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, that means Mahatma Gandhi. So the three main strongest national movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, which are known as, the first one is non-cooperation movement, then the civil disobedience movement, next the third one is the Quit India movement. So we will discuss the main three strongest movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi in the upcoming classes. But today in the first part of this video class, I will discuss about the rise of Mahatma Gandhi. So how did Mahatma Gandhi rise in Indian politics? So how did Mahatma Gandhi led the various movement? That means the introduction of the rise of Mahatma Gandhi in the path of political fields when the India was under the colonial rule of British. So in the year 1891, Mahatma Gandhi returned from England. Mahatma Gandhi, he returned from England to India as a barrister. That means he passed the degree of law and returned to India in 1891 from England after completing his graduation in barrister. Next, in the year 1893, he went to Natal in South Africa. So in the year 1893, he went to Natal, South Africa in connection with his professional work. That means regarding his professional work as a barrister. So as a barrister, he went to Natal in South Africa. So after that, as soon as he arrived in Natal, South Africa, in connection to his professional work, he came to know that the Indian people in South Africa were facing a very dangerous situation. That means they were being exploited by the Europeans. That means the racial discrimination was going on in Natal, South Africa. So as soon as he came to know about the racial discrimination being faced by the Indian people in South Africa, he took some steps. He adopted some steps for the welfare of the Indian people in South Africa to safeguard their rights, to protect the people of India in South Africa from the danger of racial discrimination. So for the protection of the rights of the Indian people in South Africa, he formed a society named Natal Indian Society. So he formed a association. The name of that association was Natal Indian Society. So under this society, he aimed to protect the rights and to safeguard the people of the India who were living in South Africa. Then he also published a magazine named as Indian Opinion. Indian Opinion. So name of the magazine is Indian Opinion, which was published in South Africa under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, and the association he formed was Natal Indian Society. So under this society and the magazine, his aim or his objective was to publish the grievances of the Indian people and to make the Indian people aware of their political rights. So after that he successfully was able to protect the rights of the Indian people, or to protect the Indian people from being discriminated racially. So in the end he was also arrested for 9 months, but later on the government of South Africa had to release him. After that, gradually being successful and being matured as a political leader, he arrived in India in 1915. In this year he arrived in India. That means Mahatma Gandhi arrived in India. So he was successful in dominating the racial discrimination or the exploitations upon the Indian people in the South Africa. So after that he arrived in India in the year 1915, and from this year he started his political career in India to protect the Indian people from being exploited or oppressed by the British, by the mighty British which were ruling in India. So after his arrival, he popularized the term Satyagraha. So this term Satyagraha is very important in Indian political history. Satyagraha. So this word Satyagraha has two words. That means this word has been arrived from two roots. Number one, Satya. Satya means truth. Number two, Agraha. Agraha. Agraha means adherence. Adherence or to hold fast. So by these two words mean, that means these two root word means Satyagraha, the people who love or who support this Satyagraha are known as Satyagrahi. That means they will follow the principle of truth, or they will accept the principle of truth. That means Agraha means to accept or to adhere, no? So they will accept the truth in their activities while they will forward their political activities against the mass protest, against the exploitation of the British by forming various mass protests in India under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. So thus Satyagraha means holding the path of truth, or to accept truth in their political or regular life in India while dealing with the political problems. Next, Mahatma Gandhi, when he arrived in India in the year 1915, he came to know about three local disputes. He came to know about three local disputes. So as soon as he heard the three local disputes, that means those disputes were being held in three places. These three places are: number one, Samparan; number two, Kheda; number two, Ahmedabad. During 1917 to 1918. So he took up the various causes of these three local disputes. That means that means Mahatma Gandhi implemented his policy of Satyagraha. That means acceptance of truth and non-violence, while raising the voice of the Indian people against the mighty British. So he took up 3 local disputes and he was successful to deal with these 3 local disputes by implementing the term Satyagraha. So the first dispute was Samparan. So the problem in Samparan, the Samparan was in North Bihar, and this Kheda was in Gujarat. So the cause of the Samparan was the peasants who were exploited by the landlords. That means the peasants of Samparan, North Bihar, were being exploited by the landlords, and he took up that case and he was successful to deal with it. That means he was able to solve this problem by implementing Satyagraha. Next, the problem or the cause was in Kheda. In Kheda, the farmers were bound to pay their revenue or to pay their taxes, even if they were unable or even if they were failed to produce their crops. So it was a great exploitation by the landlords under the British instructions. So as the farmers were facing a great misery because of paying the revenue in spite of or instead of unable to grow more crops or grow crops in the year. That means even if the farmers were failed to grow their crops, then also they were bound to pay their taxes. So this was the case which was taken up by Mahatma Gandhi and was able to deal with this problem by or to solve this problem by implementing the term Satyagraha. Next, the last one is Ahmedabad. So in Ahmedabad, he took up the causes. He took up the causes of the mill workers. Against the mill owners. That means the mill workers of Ahmedabad were being exploited in a very pathetic way by the mill owners under the instruction of mighty British. So he took up the cause of the people of Ahmedabad who were being involved in mill workers. To safeguard the mill workers from being exploited by the mill owners, he used the term Satyagraha in Ahmedabad, and he was successful in dealing with these 3 local disputes. And by this way, the term Satyagraha was very successful. After that, later on, Mahatma Gandhi continued. Gradually he continued his political and mass movements in India to make India free or to liberate India from the clutches of the mighty British. Thank you.